afternoon, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. Looking forward to another great football game on the mountainside playing Utah State. Had a couple closing comments after I had a chance to watch and review all three phases of the game with Boise State. Kind of seemed exactly how it was after I watched it, how I saw it on the sidelines. Two teams that were really competitive. There was a lot of parity in the ball game. I think the total yardage came down to 2 yards difference, and certainly a really good effort on our part. I thought Boise played well also, and so it was one of those games. The old coaching saying is we played well enough just to get beat, and that's probably true. There's some things that we've got to work on. However, I thought there were some really good things during the course of the game. Defensively, there was, we did a good job getting off the field on third down, did a nice job stopping the running game, and I thought for the most part limited their explosive plays. They've got some big-time playmakers. We were able to pressure the passer. There was a lot of times, I think we got maybe 2 sacks, but we hit the quarterback an awful lot. Offensively, it was great to see Tyler go out there and compete. I thought Tyler really competed and played well. X ran the ball well. We ran the ball 37 times, and if somebody would have told me a couple years ago that he'd be carrying the ball 37 times, I would have thought that would not have happened. But I think it's an indication of his resolve. Certainly plays made all the way around, and it was a disappointing loss, but it wasn't disappointing from the standpoint of our energy and our players' effort. Now, what is going to be important to do is have that same type of intensity as we get ready to go over to Logan. They're a really good football team, and many times if you have a team that gets on an emotional high, it's followed up by an emotional low. And so it's going to be our challenge as coaches is to make sure that our effort was one of playing with great passion and enthusiasm, and to be able to match that same level of intensity this next week. We got to have a good week of practice. I think we are fairly healthy, and so we have to have a good week of practice as we get ourselves ready to go. We did sustain what I would think is one season-ending injury with Ben Wisdorf. We'll find out a little bit more. I know there's been many times I've declared a guy that he's not going to come back at all, and then somehow he gets resurrected. So just be a little bit mindful of that. We haven't got the final confirmation yet, but all indications from the initial observation and assessment that he's got a torn ACL. So it depends. Hopefully it's not that, but that's kind of where we're at. But outside of that, it was certainly a physical game, but I think we made it through fairly healthy and getting ready for another Mountain West game. Relative to our opponent, Utah State's an explosive offense. Jordan Love got a great arm. He's mobile. They've got a whole stable of receivers that they're able to go to, big, strong offensive line. Their defense poses challenges. They'll operate out of a 3-down front to 4-down front, a lot of different looks there. And so we're certainly excited about playing the ball game. There's a lot on the line. It's another opportunity for us to come up with a Mountain West win. So at this time, questions? Yes.
We spoke with Logan Wilson after the game, and one of the first things he said was that we still have a lot to play for this season. Obviously, there's only a few games left in the regular season. Boise State has 0, Mountain West losses, all that kind of stuff. How do you kind of keep the guys motivated and keep them positive?
Sure. Well, first of all, we have a mantra of 1-0, and that's just, I think a lot of guys have bought into it. I know I have as well. And so a big ball game from that standpoint, very quality opponent. I do think if you go back through, I believe in the 016 year, we hosted the championship game here, and we had 2 conference losses. Now, the dynamics were completely different simply because of who we had lost to. But we can only take care of the business we have. I think we've got really good leadership within our football team. Logan's doing a nice job. And so our guys, they're real close in that group, and I think they want to play well for each other. Yes.
After the year Cooper had last year, and some of the struggles he's had this year, is there what kind of things can you do to try to help him just get back to relax?
Well, yeah, beyond, I don't necessarily know when you say relax. I think a lot of it's competency, and he certainly had an outstanding year last year. What I can tell you is he's an excellent kicker, and there are some things that go into it when you start to question, okay, why am I doing this? Why am I pulling? I mean, I slowed the ball down. I mean, he missed it about that much. And so, you know, a couple of the kicks early in the year that he missed, there's a whole gamut of reasons why. Some of it is his. But what's going to be important for him is for him as a Cowboy saying, get back in the saddle. You know, that play's gone. And shutter that one. He'll certainly go through and look at, okay, fundamentally, what did I do wrong? But, you know, just dealing with that closed skill set as a place kicker, you've got to have tempo and timing and confidence, and relaxation does come into play to where you're not forcing things. And so that's going to be one of the roles that I have this week. I know he felt terrible after the game. I know Logan had tried to reach out to him, a couple other guys. He just kind of want to be by himself. He's a great competitor, and he's a confident player that has a log of really good kicks, and we're going to rely on that to bring him back.
How much does that, when you have a season like he's having, does that become a mental thing and you start thinking about it?
Well, there's a couple things. There's no doubt, Davis, that, you know, that particular position is different, say, like as opposed to an offensive guard. You know, it's very much like a golfer. And sometimes I wouldn't characterize this whole thing as a slump, but I think expectations were so high, and he put expectations on himself. And I think last year there was probably a couple kicks that, you know, could have gone either way that he was able to make. He's an excellent player, and he's going to bounce back, and I'm excited about working with him this week. And, you know, what's happened in the past is in the rearview mirror. He's an excellent kicker. He needs to be kicking well against Utah State. Yes.
Obviously impressed about Valladay rushing the ball 37 times, but that's probably not something you want to make a regular thing of, and he got hurt in the game. What is the backup plan, I guess?
Well, keep on running him. That's our plan. I mean, we're in this thing to win it, and he's our best runner, so we're going to keep on running him. Fair question, fair answer.
Are there certain elements that you have to look at when teams don't have to count as much with the quarterback run now as to how you're running it, where you're running it, different elements you have to incorporate?
Well, I can tell you as an old defensive coordinator, when the quarterback takes off and you have predetermined runs, that stresses the defense. Tyler has the ability to run, and we have all that in our playbook, so the playbook's not going to drastically change. But you know, he does not have the same. He's a very capable runner, but you know, Sean was a 6'4", 220-some pound guy. Tyler's not quite as big. But we'll still run him, probably not as much as what we had planned to run Sean, and certainly the number of scrambles. However, that Tyler scrambled around fairly well. Some of it in the game was not by choice.
You mentioned Jordan Love earlier. He's kind of had a different year than last year. The numbers were kind of jumped off the page last year. Not quite as efficient this year. Obviously, they've had a coaching change. Does he look different? Does the offense look different? What do you kind of see?
Well, what I have seen is, you know, they have a new offensive coordinator who we know. I know him, and a lot of the schemes are very similar, though. There's times that he looks like he's right in phase to where he was last year, and there's other times it looks like, you know, maybe there's something missing here or there. But he's a very talented player. He is very capable of putting up big numbers, and we're going to anticipate that. And so you don't want to make too much of saying, okay, he's off. Maybe his numbers are not quite where they were. Some of that may be with some of their opponents. I know he's very talented. We got our hands full with him. Yes.
I know you guys preach the 24-hour rule, but even as coaches with the 24-hour rule, how tough was that within the 24 hours?
There was no 24 hours as us. I mean, I think we got back at 3:40 and we were in early the next day grinding away. And one of the best things you can always do is go back through, comb through the tape, bank it, and then FIDO it, forget it and drive on is what we say, and start looking at Utah State, and that's one of the best things to do. What we have to be able to do is make sure that this is an entirely different schemes that we're going to be confronted with, but another very quality opponent, and we're going to need to bring back that same level of intensity and energy and effort for this game to give us a chance to win. Yes, David.
Are you comfortable enough with Alfonso to what he played at all these last 3 games?
I can say that his performance in practice has not risen to the level to where we'll take a look at him during the course of this week. He's gonna have to improve a little bit, before we'd insert him. So it really doesn't have anything to do with red shirt, non-red shirt. It's just, we're doing whatever we can to win the next game.
How about Titus and Trey? Any update on them?
I would say both of them are unavailable this week. Yep, and Trey would be further away. We're in hopes, we'll see how Titus, he's coming along, he's making progress, but he's not been cleared yet. Yes, Davis?
Alonzo Velasquez and Zach Watts, what's their status?
Well, I think Zach Watts will take practice reps this week. I don't know if he's gonna be cleared to play, we're in hopes that that's the case. Alonzo's getting really close. They're gonna do some, I think, one more examination, but he has not practiced yet, but he's been out there, and so both of them could be. I would say Zach would be more probable than Alonzo, and we'll see how it goes during the week.
What was your assessment of young Frank Crum? He had a really tough assignment.
Oh, boy, did he. Yeah, that number 99, I think I mentioned that he was a big rascal. I had forgotten I had recruited him, because one time during the game, I was kind of clamoring with the referee, and then I told the ref, heck, I'm just being grumpy, and Weaver looked over at me and goes, hey, coach, you're all good. And then I kept on, well, how in the world does he know me? And then after the game, he had told one of our assistant coaches, make sure you tell Coach Bohl hello, because we had actually recruited him. But he's a very talented player, and Frank's a young guy. I thought Frank went in there and mixed it up, but there are times that Weaver got the best of him, and we'll learn from that. I don't want to see a lot of 99s out there, I can tell you that. Yes?
You mentioned before the season you thought Ravante was your best interior defensive lineman, but Jabari has seemed to have a really good year quietly. Is there a certain area of his game where he's come along in particular this year?
Yeah, I think he's taken to Coach Caligas's technique, his hand placement, his low pad level, his steps, all those things. He's gotten stronger. And without question, at the beginning of the year, I thought Ravante was our best defensive lineman. And I think our defensive line's playing really well right now. They've been unselfish, and Jabari's kind of elevated his game and certainly needed, and he's played well. Yes.
On the critical fourth down there at the end, and then the third down in overtime, when you guys are reviewing the tape, do you ask yourselves, tell yourselves, we should have gone with this play call instead, we should have done this instead?
There's no doubt about that. When they work, you feel pretty good about it. When they don't, you question it. And, during the course of that series, Brent and I were talking, and so you start lining up what different plays, and, we don't have a crystal ball. Obviously, I thought, when Boise made the statement, they knew what play was coming. Well, kudos to them. I don't know how in the hell they knew the play was coming, because there was a whole listing of plays that we were looking at. Maybe they guessed right. They played it well. Kudos to them. But that's all part of football. Yeah, we would like to have that one play back. Coach Vegan would like to have that one play back, and that's where we're at. And then we're going to learn from what we did and make some adjustments. But I'm not going to say, okay, we lost the game, because there are so many plays in the game. It was a hard-fought game by two competitive teams, and we came up on the short end of the stick. That sucks, but that's life. Anything else?
Do the coordinators sometimes get too much blame and not enough credit?
Depends on who's blaming them. For the head coach or
the public or the media?
Well, yeah, I can tell you this. Every guy out there knows how to do two things: coach Little League baseball and call offensive plays. And it's always amazing to me. They all got it all figured out. And so, Brent's been doing this a long time. He and I consult, but I trust him. And yeah, there's no doubt when you run a flea flicker and it doesn't work, all of a sudden that's a bad deal. If it works and the safety's up, we hit a split post on the backside, it's a great call. That's life.
Can you veto those though, Coach?
Can what?
Can you veto those when they come down on the play?
Well, I can do anything I want.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a typical.
The last time I checked, it said head coach. But I do know this, though, when as a head coach, you start doing that, Coach Vegan has spent countless numbers of more hours than I have grinding through all their tape, tendencies, and everything else, and that's where trust comes into play. There are times that Brent and I talk, and I say, I don't know about that, but I was a coordinator, and this is one thing that has helped me as a head coach, is I had a head coach that questioned everything that I was doing. I mean, you're in the middle trying to make a decision, well, then you do the job then. And, you know, that's not how we have organizations set up, and so, there's certain things that get vetted, but, you know, our whole staff and I have really good confidence in Brent, and and he understands it. He sits down at the end of the hall, he's got a corner office with windows. I mean, that means he's got a pressure job, and he understands that, and when it goes great, it's great. When it doesn't go great, you insulate yourself from the outside. I can tell you this, no one is more critical than us coaches, or Brent wishes he had a couple calls back. Yes.
When you're as run heavy as you guys have been, particularly this year, do you always study tendencies each week? Is that within yourself and your play calling, and is that something you have to do?
I mean, I tell you what, every coach out there, I mean, everything with today's technology, Davis, is honed through with a fine-tooth comb. Now, what we're not into is analytics. And I think if you're gonna go with analytics, you need to be all in on analytics. I've got a really close friend out there at one of the academies, and he's into all analytics like you can't believe, and now he kicked himself in the butt because he said, I should have gone away from that on that time, and you gotta be all in on the analytics. For us, we're not, but we comb through self-scout, our efficiencies, our play calls, how they match up. It's a big chess match. Okay? All right, everybody, thank you.
Thanks,